lot of ideas being floated around.
Let's see how that goes. We'll see how that plays out. Niall Stanage, you got a smile on your face as well as Tom to that comment. What do you think? Is Marjorie Taylor Greene onto something?
I don't think she is in this instance. And also, don't you think former President Trump has got enough on his plate
as
it is?
So.
Between, running for president, several criminal cases, I don't think he's really looking for added responsibilities involving running the House of Representatives.
Thank you for making it plain, Niall, because when I read that, I thought, okay, that's just laughable. But the whole thing is being described as chaos. Were the majority of House Republicans, including McCarthy, in denial that this could be a strong reality?
I think they understood it was going to be a reality, but they thought that he might scrape through. One of the weaknesses in the Rebels case was the point that Tom alluded to a moment ago. Who is their alternative? So if you boot McCarthy, what now? That argument was made. It did not clearly win the day in terms of preventing enough rebels joining the cause to remove him from office after such a short tenure, Adrienne.
Rebels. Ooh. That is enticing to discuss, the term rebel. Nine-time North Carolina Congressman Patrick McHenry, now interim speaker. He was one on a secret short list that McCarthy selected to replace him temporarily in the event something like this could happen. But is there any talk about if he'll be elected speaker? And who else is on that list?
Right now, it seems unlikely that Congressman McHenry will go and become a full-time speaker. As it is now, his responsibilities and his powers are very curtailed, and it really is a caretaker position where his main function is to facilitate an election. Steve Scalise, the majority leader, is one person who's mentioned. Jim Jordan, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, would perhaps have even more appeal to Conservatives. But really, Adrienne, a lot of this is about who can win the trust of the conference. We could talk about the minutiae of why Kevin McCarthy lost the job, but the key point is he wasn't trusted by those people who chose to vote him out.
Yeah, he never really stirred the hearts and passions of his party. Congressman Mike Lawler, though, he believed that Gates's move would be destructive for the whole country. Do these 8 Republicans who voted McCarthy out have the upper hand?
They have an enormous amount of power. I mean, their will, in a sense, has won the day against more than 200 Republicans who voted in the opposite direction. Now, the roots of why that is possible go back to the deal that Kevin McCarthy made to become Speaker at the start of this year, handing any one person the power to have a vote on his speakership and whether he should remain in that position. I think anytime you have such narrow math as we see in the House of Representatives right now, that gives leverage to people, and people like Congressman Gates are very happy to use it.
What is this talk about some House Republicans now reportedly planning to resign en masse from this bipartisan problem solvers caucus as payback to Democrats for voting McCarthy out? And is that serious? Is that consequential?
I mean, honestly, I raise a little bit of an eyebrow about that. That Problem Solvers Caucus has a very noble-sounding name. It has never solved a problem that I'm aware of. In all
name only.
And they're theoretical problem solvers. So, I mean, I don't know really that makes a massive difference. I always like to get an oh my from you at 6 o'clock in the morning, Adrienne. But no, listen, I think that it's part of the growing enmity between the parties, but I don't think in isolation it's all that important.
Yeah, we are going to quit this caucus of problem solving where we haven't solved a problem. And that defines almost every lawmaker right now in Congress for much of the American people. Maybe they'll get something done, though, with a new speaker. Niall Stanage. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.